Well, I suppose if you feel you got it, you got it.
Yeah.
You like to dance?
More than anything in the world.
You want to work with me?
Yes, Mr. Gallagher.
Shake.
Yes.
Old Hollywood sold the public a fantasy. Marble staircases, tailored tuxedos, gowns that caught the light just so. But behind every one of those staged photographs sat a studio machine built to protect an image and to bury whatever didn't fit it. For 3 decades, that machine worked. Contracts included morality clauses, publicists arranged marriages, reporters were paid to look away, and love, real, complicated, sometimes reckless love, was treated as a liability to be managed rather than a life to be lived. Stick with us to the end, because the final story on this list, involving a teenage girl, an aging leading man, and a death that happened in her arms, is one of the darkest the Golden Age ever produced, and it's rarely told in full. Before we get into it, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive into the era's best-kept secrets. Let's begin. 1. Jean Harlow and William Powell. Jean Harlow, MGM's blonde bombshell, and William Powell, the studio's most polished leading man, carried on one of Hollywood's most closely guarded romances at the height of both their careers. Harlow was already a box office draw known for her beauty and screen presence. Powell brought a suave, sophisticated persona that made him one of the era's most bankable stars. Their connection was genuine, but they deliberately kept it out of public view. The couple fell deeply in love, but Powell hesitated on marriage. He had already been through 2 divorces and was reluctant to commit to a 3rd attempt. Despite that hesitation, the relationship remained strong. Powell showered Harlow with gifts and affection, and by all accounts the two were inseparable, even while presenting nothing of the relationship to the press. Their story ended abruptly. In 1937, Harlow died suddenly at just 26 years old from kidney failure. Her death devastated Powell. He reportedly arranged for her to be buried in a gown he had given her and paid for her crypt, ensuring she would be remembered the way he felt she deserved. Powell never spoke publicly about the relationship or his grief, but those close to him understood how deeply her death affected him. A romance hidden in life became, for Powell, a private grief he carried for the rest of his years. 2. Greta Garbo and Salka Viertel. In the late 1920s, Greta Garbo's love life was already a subject of fascination. After splitting from boyfriend and co-star John Gilbert, she grew close to Salka Viertel, an actress who had recently relocated to Hollywood from Berlin. The two met at a party and quickly formed a close bond. Viertel, 6 years older than Garbo, was married to screenwriter Bertold Viertel and had 3 children, a fact that did not prevent a deep connection from forming between the 2 women. Viertel had struggled in Hollywood, told she was too old and not conventionally attractive enough to succeed as an actress, but her relationship with Garbo changed her trajectory. Viertel suggested Garbo take on the role of Queen Christina of Sweden, and, with Garbo's backing, co-wrote the screenplay, a project that helped cement Garbo's status among Hollywood's elite. Viertel later introduced Garbo to Mercedes de Acosta, a bold screenwriter and an openly identified member of the LGBTQ+ community, at a time when that was exceptionally rare. De Acosta pursued Garbo, and the two began an affair following a secluded trip to the Sierra Nevada mountains. But while De Acosta worked to win Garbo's affections, Garbo's deeper attachment remained with Viertel. Garbo reportedly initiated a relationship with Viertel on Viertel's 26th birthday, an encounter Viertel later described as harmonious and beautiful. Garbo and Viertel remained close afterward, while De Acosta grew increasingly obsessed, following Garbo and even relocating to live near her. The final rupture came in 1960, when De Acosta published an autobiography that included a private photograph of Garbo, breaking the trust between them permanently. All of these relationships were daring for their time and were kept secret specifically to protect the women's careers and public reputations. 3. Anthony Perkins and Tab Hunter. Long before Psycho made him a star, Anthony Perkins met Tab Hunter, Hollywood's blonde, blue-eyed heartthrob, in 1956. The two connected at the Chateau Marmont pool, sparking a relationship that, given the era's attitudes, could not be acknowledged publicly. Discretion became a way of life for both men. They arranged double dates with actresses, specifically to maintain appearances and mislead both the press and their own studios. After those public appearances, it was Perkins and Hunter who returned home together. Hunter's clean-cut, all-American image was central to his studio value, and Paramount pressured him to protect it, worried that any exposure would end his career. The two found ways to meet privately, including getaways to a beach house, and managed to sustain the relationship for roughly 3 years while balancing enormous professional risk. The relationship ultimately ended over professional competition rather than personal betrayal. Perkins took the lead role in the film adaptation of Fear Strikes Out, a part Hunter had already played on television. The resulting rivalry strained the relationship beyond repair, and the two parted ways. Their paths crossed one final time in 1985, when Hunter approached Perkins to star in his production, Lust in the Dust. Perkins turned him down, likely because the memories were too difficult to revisit. 4. Clark Gable and Loretta Young. Clark Gable, then known as the King of Hollywood, and Loretta Young, celebrated for her pristine public image, shared a secret that would not surface publicly for decades. The two met while filming Call of the Wild in 1935. Gable, married at the time, was as charming as he was notorious, and the 23-year-old Young was drawn into his orbit. Their relationship took a dark turn during a train ride back to Hollywood. Alone in her compartment, Young later revealed that Gable forced himself on her, an admission she did not make publicly until decades later. The consequences of that encounter were significant. Young became pregnant and understood she could not reveal the identity of the father. Hollywood's strict moral codes at the time demanded absolute secrecy, particularly for unmarried actresses whose careers depended on maintaining a spotless reputation. Young hid her pregnancy, withdrawing from the public eye until her daughter, Judy, was born. To maintain the fiction, she gave Judy up for adoption and then adopted her back, presenting the child as if she were unrelated by birth. Gable, for his part, wanted nothing to do with the child. When notified of Judy's birth, he reportedly tore up the telegram, never acknowledged her publicly, rarely visited, and refused to provide financial support for decades. The full truth only came to light in Young's posthumously published memoir, a final revelation regarding one of Hollywood's most carefully buried secrets. 5. Barbara Stanwyck and Robert Taylor. Barbara Stanwyck and Robert Taylor were among Hollywood's most glamorous married couples, but many believed their union was less a romance than an arrangement engineered by the studio system to boost both careers and shield their private lives from scrutiny. Taylor, known for his leading man looks, was a reliable box office draw. Stanwyck, celebrated for her strong, independent screen roles, was among the highest-paid actresses of her era. Behind the public partnership, rumors persistently circulated about Stanwyck's relationships with women, fueled by her independence and close friendships with female companions, associations that drew scrutiny in an era when such relationships were entirely unacceptable to disclose. The press speculated, but the studio worked actively to keep her private life out of print. Meanwhile, Taylor's own alleged affairs with other women added further fuel to the gossip surrounding the marriage. The couple's union functioned more like a professional partnership than a romantic one, yet they remained together publicly for over a decade before divorcing in 1951. The rumors surrounding both partners never fully dissipated, and to this day, the true nature of the Stanwyck-Taylor marriage remains one of the era's most persistent mysteries, a blend of glamour, secrecy, and studio-managed image control. 6. Ingrid Bergman and Roberto Rossellini. Ingrid Bergman was regarded as Hollywood's golden girl, known for her pure public image and roles portraying saintly characters, a reputation that stood in stark contrast to the complications of her private life. In 1937, she married Peter Lindstrom, a future neurosurgeon, though the marriage struggled from early on. By the time she relocated to California in 1939 to pursue her acting career, the couple was already effectively living apart. Bergman's career accelerated through the 1940s, with major hits including Casablanca and Gaslight. Everything changed when she met Italian director Roberto Rossellini while filming Stromboli in 1950. The two began an affair while Bergman remained legally married, and she soon became pregnant with Rossellini's child. The scandal that followed was explosive. The public, having believed Bergman embodied the virtuous characters she played on screen, felt betrayed, and she was widely condemned as immoral. Senator Edwin C. Johnson publicly denounced her, calling her a powerful influence for evil. Boycotts followed. Several of her films were effectively banned from circulation, and the press pursued her relentlessly. Bergman ultimately fled to Europe, where she and Rossellini welcomed 3 children together, including future actress Isabella Rossellini. The scandal ended her marriage to Lindstrom and severely strained her relationship with her daughter Pia, whom she left behind in the process. Though Bergman's career eventually recovered, she returned to Hollywood in 1956. The affair with Rossellini permanently marked her as one of the era's most scandal-associated figures. 7. Rita Hayworth, Orson Welles, and Prince Ali Khan. Rita Hayworth, known as the Love Goddess, experienced a love life defined by drama and public controversy. In 1943, she surprised the industry by marrying Orson Welles in a simple courthouse ceremony during a lunch break. The Associated Press questioned the abrupt union at the time, noting that Hayworth had recently been rumored to be engaged to actor Victor Mature. Despite initial chemistry, the marriage did not last, and the couple separated by 1946. Shortly afterward, Hayworth vacationed on the French Riviera, where she caught the attention of Prince Ali Khan, a known playboy and spiritual leader. Ali was determined to meet her, reportedly enlisting gossip columnist Elsa Maxwell to help arrange an introduction at a party. Hayworth, who had planned to leave the event early, stayed at Maxwell's urging and was quickly taken with the prince. The fact that both were still legally married to other people did not stop the relationship from beginning, and the affair provoked outrage across Hollywood. Columbia Studios president Harry Cohn sued Hayworth for $1.2 million after she left acting to spend more time with Ali. The British press also condemned her, with one tabloid describing the relationship as an insult to decent-minded women. Despite the backlash, the couple married in France in 1949 and welcomed a daughter, Princess Yasmin, 7 months later. The marriage ultimately did not survive Ali's ongoing infidelities, and Hayworth filed for divorce in 1951, initiating a bitter custody battle that continued until Ali's death in a car accident in 1960. 8. Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy are remembered as one of Hollywood's most talked-about couples, their alleged love story presented publicly as something close to a real-life romance. According to Hollywood insider and author Scotty Bowers, the relationship was in fact a carefully constructed arrangement designed to serve both stars' public images. Hepburn, according to Bowers, was reportedly a lesbian, while Tracy, known publicly for his rugged masculine charm, was said to be bisexual. Studios paired the two together deliberately in order to protect their images and conceal the truth. Bowers claimed Hepburn had, on multiple occasions, asked him to arrange introductions to women for her, a request he said he fulfilled well over 100 times. Publicly, however, Hepburn and Tracy maintained the appearance of a devoted couple. Hepburn herself later admitted to her biographer that the relationship was complicated. She remained by Tracy's side despite his struggles with alcoholism and his other relationships, later explaining simply that she loved him and wanted to be with him. The studio system of the Golden Age was relentless in suppressing anything that conflicted with the idealized image of its stars. Bowers described the period as one in which living authentically was nearly impossible for anyone in the industry. Hepburn and Tracy's relationship, framed publicly as one of cinema's great love stories, was, according to those closest to it, more accurately a story about survival, in an era where being different could end a career outright. 9. Liza Minnelli and Peter Allen. Liza Minnelli's marriage to Peter Allen was far from the picture of stability it appeared to be publicly. Minnelli, already Hollywood royalty, married Allen, a charming Australian singer who had been discovered by her mother, Judy Garland. Following Garland's death, Minnelli threw herself into her career and found comfort in her relationship with Allen. Publicly, the couple appeared to be a perfect match. Privately, the reality was far more complicated. Allen was hiding the fact that he was gay, and Minnelli, entirely unaware, discovered the truth in devastating fashion, walking in on Allen with another man on their wedding night. She would later joke about the experience, saying she would never surprise anyone by coming home unannounced again, because she learned to call first. The marriage did not improve from there. While filming Cabaret, Minnelli began an affair with music producer Desi Arnaz Jr., reportedly flaunting the relationship in front of Allen as a form of retaliation for his own infidelities. Allen, for his part, continued his affairs and additionally had a relationship with Minnelli's own stepfather, Mark Herron, a revelation that left Minnelli humiliated. The marriage, defined by mutual infidelity and secrecy, ended in divorce in 1974, leaving behind a story that shocked even Hollywood's most scandal-hardened observers. 10. Charlie Chaplin and Lita Grey. Charlie Chaplin's relationship with Lita Grey developed into one of Hollywood's most serious scandals. Chaplin, already an established icon, met Grey when she was just 16 years old and working on one of his films. He was 35 at the time. Their relationship was kept secret, largely due to her age and Chaplin's fear of public backlash. When Grey became pregnant, Chaplin's situation changed dramatically. At the time, pregnancy outside of marriage was considered career-ending, prompting Chaplin to marry her quickly in an effort to protect his reputation. The wedding took place secretly in Mexico in 1924, deliberately away from the attention of the Hollywood press. The marriage was troubled from the outset. Chaplin and Grey clashed constantly, and the relationship deteriorated rapidly. By 1927, the couple divorced in a highly public and contentious legal battle. Court proceedings exposed damaging details about the marriage, including allegations of Chaplin's controlling behavior and infidelities. The press covered the case extensively, and it became one of the largest scandals in Hollywood history at the time. 11. Vivien Leigh, Laurence Olivier, and Jill Esmond. Vivien Leigh and Laurence Olivier's relationship began with an immediate spark in 1936, when Olivier saw Leigh perform in The Mask of Virtue. He was instantly drawn to her, and Leigh, equally taken, reportedly told a friend that he was the man she intended to marry. The complication was that both were already married. Leigh to Herbert Lee Holman, a barrister who tolerated her acting career with little enthusiasm, and Olivier to Jill Esmond, daughter of well-known British actors. Olivier later admitted in his own autobiography that he had married Esmond because he didn't believe he could do better at the time. In 1937, Olivier was cast in Hamlet, and Leigh began visiting him frequently. The two went on to star together in Fire Over England, and their connection deepened significantly during that period. Olivier described the feeling as a love he could not resist. Despite guilt over the infidelity involved, he came to view the relationship as something categorically different from a casual affair. The pair eventually left their respective spouses and moved in together before their divorces were finalized in 1940. They married 6 months later in California, but the relationship's happiness did not last indefinitely. Leigh's struggles with alcohol, several miscarriages, and a prolonged affair with actor Peter Finch placed significant strain on the marriage, and by 1960, the couple divorced. Despite the split, Olivier remained tender toward Leigh afterward, writing to her that she had endured it all nobly, bravely, and beautifully, and that he was sorry for how difficult it must have been for her. 12. Ava Gardner and Frank Sinatra. Ava Gardner and Frank Sinatra's relationship was as public and combustible as any on this list. By the time the two met, Sinatra's career was fading, and he remained married to Nancy Barbato, the mother of his 3 children. None of that prevented him from pursuing Gardner, and the two began a passionate affair. Sinatra's attraction to Gardner came paired with a volatile jealousy. While Gardner was in Spain filming for MGM, Sinatra visited and demanded to know whether she had been unfaithful. When she admitted to a one-night encounter with a bullfighter, he reacted with intense anger. Despite the tension, their attraction kept the relationship intact. When Sinatra informed Barbato that he was in love with Gardner, she locked him out of their home. Sinatra's Catholic guilt reportedly delayed the divorce further, but he ultimately left his family to be with Gardner. 10 days after the divorce was finalized, the two married, generating a media frenzy. Gardner was publicly cast as the woman who had lured Sinatra away from his family, and the marriage itself was far from peaceful, marked by public scrutiny, jealousy, and near-constant tabloid coverage, compounded by Sinatra's declining career at the time. It remains one of the era's most infamous public scandals. 13. Debbie Reynolds, Eddie Fisher, and Elizabeth Taylor. Debbie Reynolds and Elizabeth Taylor were, for a time, close friends within Hollywood, having met as teenagers and remained close through the years, until a scandal fractured the relationship entirely. Reynolds married singer Eddie Fisher in 1955, and the couple had 2 children, including future Star Wars actress Carrie Fisher. Around the same period, Taylor married producer Mike Todd in 1957. The two couples socialized frequently, presenting a picture of Hollywood friendship, until tragedy struck in 1958 when Todd died in a plane crash. In the aftermath, Fisher attempted to comfort the grieving Taylor, and what began as support developed into an affair that shocked the industry. Taylor later stated that her feelings toward Fisher were rooted in shared grief over Todd, rather than genuine romantic love, explaining that Mike Todd was the only thing she and Fisher ever truly had in common. Fisher nevertheless left Reynolds for Taylor, and public opinion turned sharply against Taylor, who was labeled a homewrecker, while Reynolds was cast as the wronged, devoted wife and mother. Fisher and Taylor married only hours after his divorce from Reynolds was finalized, but the marriage proved unstable from the beginning. By 1964, Taylor had already moved on to another, highly publicized relationship with Richard Burton, and her marriage to Fisher ended as abruptly as it had begun. Years later, Reynolds and Taylor crossed paths on a cruise, exchanged notes, and rekindled their friendship. By 2001, the two women even collaborated on a project written by Reynolds' daughter, Carrie, though the friendship would always carry the memory of the betrayal that once divided them. 14. Humphrey Bogart, Mayo Methot, and Lauren Bacall. Humphrey Bogart's marriage to Mayo Methot was volatile from its start, earning the couple the press nickname the Battling Bogarts. Their relationship was marked by frequent, heated arguments, fueled by alcohol and mutual frustration, and both partners had reputations for volatility. Bogart reportedly nicknamed Methot Sluggy because of her temper. Tensions escalated to a genuinely dangerous point during a USO tour in 1944, when the couple, drunk, reportedly fired guns at one another. Amid this turbulent marriage, Bogart met Lauren Bacall on the set of To Have and Have Not. She was 19, he was 44. Despite the age gap, the two had immediate chemistry, and Bogart made the first move, visiting her trailer one night to kiss her and ask for her number. Bacall later described him as the man who meant everything to her. Even so, Bogart did not leave Methot immediately, returning to his marriage repeatedly in an attempt to salvage it. At one point, Methot discovered him on the phone with Bacall and reacted with jealous fury. Eventually, Bogart could no longer maintain the arrangement. Following a particularly difficult holiday period with Methot, he left the marriage for good on May 10, 1945, finalizing the divorce and marrying Bacall just 11 days later. Their union became one of Hollywood's most celebrated love stories, but Methot never recovered from the split, passing away in 1951 after years of personal struggle. 15. Cary Grant and Randolph Scott. Cary Grant and Randolph Scott were two of Hollywood's most admired leading men. both charming, handsome, and professionally successful, whose close friendship became the subject of persistent speculation, suggesting the bond was more than platonic. The two met in the 1930s and quickly became inseparable. Even sharing a Malibu house they jokingly referred to as Bachelor Hall. Photographs from this period, showing the two men relaxed and at ease together, only intensified the rumors, capturing an intimacy considered unusual for two men at the time. Studio executives were reportedly displeased with the speculation. Hollywood's golden age demanded that its stars project unambiguous heterosexual public images, and any suggestion of a same-sex relationship carried the potential to end a career outright. As a result, both Grant and Scott publicly dated women, and Grant went on to marry several times over the course of his life, though the private speculation about the two men never fully disappeared. Neither actor ever confirmed nor denied the true nature of their relationship. Grant once addressed the rumors obliquely, joking that he didn't think he would marry again, and would instead simply find a woman he didn't like and give her a house. Whether the two were simply close friends or something more, their relationship remains one of Hollywood's enduring mysteries, one that quietly challenged the rigid expectations of masculinity that defined the era. 16. Audrey Hepburn and William Holden. Audrey Hepburn and William Holden's relationship began on the set of Sabrina in 1954. Holden had admired Hepburn even before the two began working together, and once filming started, his admiration developed into something far more serious. Their on-screen chemistry mirrored genuine off-screen attraction, and the two soon became entangled in a secret affair. The relationship, however, was troubled from the start. Holden was married, struggled with a drinking problem, and carried emotional baggage that placed considerable strain on the relationship. Despite these complications, Holden fell deeply for Hepburn and ultimately proposed marriage, hoping to make her his wife. Hepburn, however, had her own priorities. She wanted, above all, to start a family. Holden had previously undergone a vasectomy, and the realization that the two could never have children together effectively ended any possibility of a shared future. Heartbroken, Hepburn turned down his proposal. Holden later admitted that he had genuinely been in love with her, but that she would not agree to marry him. A decade later, in 1964, the two reunited professionally for Paris When It Sizzles, but by that point, Hepburn was married, and Holden's feelings for her had not faded. His efforts to rekindle the relationship led to public embarrassment. On one drunken occasion, he attempted to climb to her dressing room window and fell before reaching it. A humiliating episode that effectively closed the door on their complicated history. 17. Gary Cooper and Lupe Velez. Gary Cooper and Lupe Velez's relationship was as volatile as any documented in Hollywood history. The two met on the set of The Wolf Song in 1929 and quickly fell into a passionate, tumultuous affair. Velez, known for her fierce temper, often allowed her emotions to dictate her actions during arguments. On one occasion, she chased Cooper with a knife and cut him badly enough that he required stitches. The tabloids covered their volatile arguments extensively. Cooper was far from an innocent party in the relationship. While Velez remained devoted to him, Cooper carried on affairs with other prominent actresses, including Marlene Dietrich and Carole Lombard. Despite this, Velez maintained her place in the relationship, and their chaotic dynamic continued for roughly 3 years. Things reached a dangerous conclusion when the two finally separated. As Cooper boarded a train in Los Angeles, Velez reportedly confronted him publicly and fired a gun in his direction. The bullet missed, and Cooper ducked into the train car to escape. Despite the danger and chaos of the relationship, Cooper later admitted he had been genuinely drawn to Velez, describing her as someone who flashed, stormed, and sparked. Rumors also circulated about Cooper's close relationship with actor Anderson Lawler during this period. Velez herself claimed she could detect Lawler's cologne on Cooper and suggested a possible love triangle. The Cooper-Velez relationship remains one of the era's most talked-about scandals. 18. Lana Turner and Johnny Stompanato. Lana Turner was one of Hollywood's most prominent stars, but her personal life took a dark turn when she became involved with Johnny Stompanato, a man with direct connections to organized crime figure Mickey Cohen. Their relationship was defined by drama, passion, and escalating violence, making it a recurring subject of tabloid coverage. Stompanato was known for a volatile temper and possessive jealousy, and he frequently attempted to control Turner, creating what became a toxic and increasingly dangerous relationship. Their arguments became well known within Hollywood circles, and Turner's family and friends grew increasingly concerned for her safety, though Turner herself struggled to leave the relationship. The situation reached its breaking point in 1958, when Stompanato arrived at Turner's Beverly Hills home during a heated argument. Turner's 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, overheard the confrontation and feared for her mother's safety. In a desperate act, Crane grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed Stompanato, who died almost instantly. The case shocked Hollywood and the country. Crane claimed self-defense, and during the trial, Turner delivered emotional testimony detailing the abuse she had endured throughout the relationship. The court ultimately ruled the stabbing justified, but the incident left a lasting mark on Turner's public reputation for years afterward. 19. Bette Davis and William Wyler. Bette Davis had numerous relationships throughout her career, but she consistently referred to director William Wyler as the one that got away. Their affair began while working together on The Letter, 1940, and The Little Foxes, 1941, two of Davis's most celebrated films. Davis later confessed that Wyler was, without question, the love of her life and everything she had ever wanted in a partner. Wyler, however, appears to have viewed the relationship quite differently. He described Davis as intensely passionate and emotional, with more energy than anyone he had ever encountered. Ultimately, in his own words, too much for him to sustain. The two partners' accounts of what caused the relationship's end do not fully align. Davis maintained that she had wanted to marry Wyler, while he insisted she had told him she did not want marriage. Regardless of the discrepancy, the relationship, though short-lived, remained unforgettable for Davis. Years later, she visited Wyler on the set of his 1959 epic Ben-Hur, an encounter she described afterward as heartbreaking. Wyler, according to Davis, greeted her politely, as though the affair had never taken place. For Davis, that reunion confirmed that whatever she had felt for him had never been fully reciprocated. Their affair, never public at the time it occurred, remains one of the most quietly significant chapters of Davis's personal life. 20. Marlon Brando, Rita Moreno, and Elvis Presley. When Marlon Brando met Rita Moreno in 1954, the attraction was immediate. Moreno herself described the connection as electric, later saying that simply meeting him left her flushed head to toe. The relationship, however, proved to be anything but stable. Brando, known for both his charm and his persistent infidelity, repeatedly cheated on Moreno throughout their 8 years together, causing significant emotional harm. Despite the pain the relationship caused her, Moreno remained unable to fully separate from Brando, continuing to love him even as he married other women during their on-again, off-again involvement. Moreno wanted commitment. Brando consistently refused to offer it. The breaking point came when Moreno discovered lingerie in Brando's belongings that did not belong to her. Hurt and furious, she sought a form of retaliation, which is when Elvis Presley entered the picture. Moreno accepted Presley's advances, specifically knowing it would provoke Brando's jealousy, and it did. Upon learning of the involvement, Brando reacted with explosive anger, reportedly throwing furniture in a rage. Despite the momentary satisfaction this gave her, Moreno later admitted that Presley could not compare to her feelings for Brando. The relationship's toxicity reached its most severe point when Moreno became pregnant and Brando pressured her into having an abortion. The procedure went badly, leaving Moreno traumatized, and Brando's response focused on the financial cost rather than her physical or emotional suffering. In the aftermath, Moreno, in a state of despair, attempted to take her own life. She survived, but the episode made clear that the relationship needed to end permanently. 21. Errol Flynn and Beverly Adland. Errol Flynn's relationship with Beverly Adland became one of Hollywood's most disturbing stories, even though the full details were not widely known publicly at the time. By the 1950s, Flynn's career had already been overshadowed by a reputation for womanizing, heavy drinking, and previous legal troubles involving underage girls. His relationship with Adland only deepened that notoriety. Flynn met Adland when she was just 15 years old, though he later claimed he did not learn her actual age until after the relationship had already begun. Their first meeting was arranged under the pretense of an acting audition, though Flynn's interest was personal rather than professional from the outset. Despite the obvious warning signs, Adland's mother, Florence, actively encouraged the relationship, even accompanying the pair on dates to deflect suspicion from the press. Flynn used his charm and promises of stardom to secure Florence's cooperation, and she came to view the relationship as a career opportunity for her daughter. Flynn nicknamed Adland Woodsy and reportedly announced plans to marry her at her 17th birthday party. His declining health, however, caught up with him in 1959. While aboard a leased yacht in Canada, Flynn died in Adland's arms following a night of storytelling. In the aftermath of his death, Adland's life unraveled. She was placed in a juvenile home, and her mother was jailed for contributing to her delinquency. Florence later published a memoir about the affair, titled The Big Love, against her daughter's explicit wishes, adding further sensationalism to an already deeply troubling chapter of Hollywood history. 21 relationships. 21 stories the studio system spent decades keeping out of print. Forbidden romances, hidden identities, secret children, and in some cases, real danger, all buried beneath a public image built on control rather than truth. What strikes us most, looking back, isn't just the scandal. It's how much effort an entire industry put into hiding ordinary human complexity behind a curated illusion of perfection. Which of these stories surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more of old Hollywood's hidden history, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.